Welcome back to the channel where rare coins, astonishing minting errors, and the thrilling world of numismatics come together to uncover hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket change. And in today's exciting and eye-opening video, we're diving deep into a truly fascinating case of a 1997 D. Jefferson 5-cent coin, which, believe it or not, has stunned collectors and auctioneers alike by reaching an extraordinary value of $966 due to a unique blend of mint errors, production anomalies, and a perfect storm of rarity and collector demand that have catapulted this once ordinary nickel into the spotlight of numismatic fame. And by the time we finish uncovering the many layers behind what makes this particular 1997 D 5-cent piece so incredibly valuable, you might just find yourself double-checking every nickel you come across, because sometimes the smallest details make the biggest financial difference, especially when those details originate from the very minting process that is supposed to guarantee uniformity, precision, and perfection, yet occasionally, whether through mechanical failure, human oversight, or unforeseen anomalies in the coin blank or die striking process, the United States Mint produces coins with mistakes that not only slip past quality control, but end up creating collectible masterpieces of imperfection that command enormous premiums on the open market. And in the case of the 1997 D. Jefferson nickel, minted in Denver, Colorado, what appears at first glance to be just another 5-cent piece from late 90s circulation actually holds a treasure trove of possible errors that seasoned collectors immediately recognize as red flags for value enhancement, starting with one of the most widely sought-after error categories, the off-center strike, which occurs when the blank planchet is not properly aligned under the dies during the striking process, resulting in a coin with part of the design missing and part of the blank surface still visible. And when this happens to a significant degree while still retaining full date and mint mark visibility, the value skyrockets depending on how far off-center the strike is, with collectors sometimes paying hundreds or even thousands if the error is particularly dramatic and rare. And when you combine this with an example like the 1997 D nickel, where the off-center strike coincides with other significant issues like double die errors, where the die used to strike the coin has been impressed more than once with a misalignment, resulting in doubling of key design elements such as Jefferson's profile, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date itself, you suddenly have a coin that possesses multiple error types, each of which increases its standalone value. And when they converge on a single piece, the demand goes through the roof because such occurrences are not just statistically rare, but visually fascinating, making them instant highlights in any error coin collection. And if that weren't enough, there are instances where the 1997 D nickel has been discovered with clipped planchets, meaning the metal blank from which the coin is made was improperly punched, leaving a visible crescent-shaped clip on the edge of the coin, a striking and unmistakable error that further enhances its desirability, especially when the clip affects inscriptions or design features. And the allure of such anomalies is deeply rooted in the psychology of collecting, where rarity, imperfection, and visual intrigue combine to form the core ingredients of numismatic obsession. And that's why, even though hundreds of millions of 1997 D nickels were struck, only a tiny fraction exhibit these types of errors, and even fewer combine multiple error types, making each one of these valuable examples truly one-in-a-million treasures. And while machine doubling might often be confused with true double die errors, seasoned collectors and third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC know how to authenticate genuine double die varieties, which is why getting your 1997 D nickel professionally graded and attributed can mean the difference between face value and a nearly $1,000 windfall. And in some cases, strike-through errors have also been reported on this coin, where foreign materials like grease, cloth, or even bits of metal become lodged on the die or planchet during striking, causing portions of the design to appear faded, missing, or oddly textured. And such errors, especially if prominent and affecting major devices on the coin, create highly sought-after variations that tell a compelling story of mishap and mechanical chance at the minting facility, and this storytelling aspect is what truly captures the heart of collectors, because each error coin isn't just a flawed object, but a historical artifact that records an exact moment of deviation in a process otherwise governed by extreme uniformity. And the 1997 D5 coin, already notable for being part of a long-running design series, finds renewed attention due to these flaws, creating a perfect blend of historical continuity and modern collecting excitement. And then there's the phenomenon of rotated dies, where the obverse and reverse of the coin don't line up properly when flipped, a condition that's often overlooked by casual observers but instantly appreciated by numismatists, who know how difficult such errors are to occur and escape detection. And when such a rotation is extreme, like 90 degrees or even a full 180-degree misalignment, the value can leap significantly, especially when combined with other flaws. And another remarkable possibility for this coin is the rare but real occurrence of misaligned dies, where one of the dies, often the hammer die, is improperly positioned, causing one side of the coin to appear shifted relative to the other, a striking visual oddity that further emphasizes the rarity of a flawed 1997 D nickel. And when you factor in the possibility of transitional errors, where planchets from a previous or future year were mistakenly used in the coining process, such as using a planchet of incorrect composition or thickness, you open up the potential for metallurgical misfits that drive up collector demand, especially among error specialists who relish these once-in-a-career discoveries. And that's why even the most ordinary pocket change deserves a second look, because you might just find a 1997 D5 piece with a missing clad layer, a coin struck on a foreign planchet, or even one with partial brockage, where one coin overlaps another during striking, causing a mirror image impression, each of which represents the kind of error that few people ever witness firsthand, let alone own. And all of these mistakes can push the value of what should be a 5-cent coin into the hundreds and even thousands. And in the case of the coin that recently sold for $966, it's believed to have exhibited a stunning combination of an off-center strike with clear date and mint mark, prominent doubling of inscriptions, and possible die clash marks, where elements of the coin's reverse design can faintly appear on the obverse due to the dies striking each other without a planchet in between, leaving behind ghostly impressions that are highly valued by error collectors. And the intensity of this value jump comes not just from the presence of errors, but from the condition of the coin as well, because a mint state example with minimal wear, strong luster, and clear error visibility will always outperform a circulated one, and grading becomes crucial here, with higher grade examples receiving MS65, MS66, or even MS67 grades from PCGS or NGC being the ones that hit those upper-tier auction prices. And that's why so many collectors and treasure hunters invest in magnification tools, reference books, and third-party grading services, because turning a 5-cent coin into $966 isn't just about luck, it's about knowledge, vigilance, and a passion for numismatics that rewards those who take the time to learn and look closely. And when you think about how many 1997 D nickels are still circulating, the odds that one of them holds an undiscovered treasure are not just a dream, but a realistic possibility, because the minting process, while highly sophisticated, still operates at incredible speeds and volumes, meaning even rare errors have a chance of slipping through unnoticed, especially in a year when hundreds of millions of coins were being produced. And that's why the smart collector always checks for telltale signs like doubling, rotation, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, strike-throughs, and any other anomaly that hints at a minting error. Next, 2012 P5 USA coin. Today we're exploring one of the most intriguing and surprisingly valuable coins out there, a 2012 P. Jefferson 5-cent coin, a nickel that might appear ordinary at first glance, but has made headlines among numismatic circles and coin collectors alike for fetching a whopping $344 due to the variety of errors, flaws, and oddities it possesses that make it not only a standout in collections, but also a valuable artifact of minting history. And in this extensive journey we're going to break down every detail, from the striking anomalies during production to the unusual variations in die alignment, planchet quality, and strike pressure that elevate a seemingly mundane 5-cent coin into a high-value collectible. So buckle up as we uncover the true potential hiding in your change jar. Because the story of the 2012 nickel is a fascinating look into how small oversights and mechanical missteps in the minting process can generate coins that end up being worth many times their face value. Starting with an understanding of how modern coins are made, which sets the stage for how and why errors like these occur. Because while the United States Mint generally maintains high-quality standards across their coinage, occasional slip-ups do happen, and it's these moments, when something unusual passes through the rigorous quality control process, that collectors become most excited about. So in the case of the 2012 nickel, minted at the Philadelphia Mint, the errors begin with off-center strikes, which result when the coin blank, or planchet, is not correctly aligned within the press, and instead of receiving a perfectly centered image, the design is shifted, causing part of the design to be missing entirely, while another portion is duplicated or smeared, and depending on the degree of the misalignment, whether it is 5%, 10%, 30% or more, the value of the coin rises significantly, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible, because collectors seek those features for authentication and registry purposes. And beyond the off-center strikes, another type of error found in some 2012 nickels includes die cracks, which are fractures in the metal die used to strike the coins that translate into raised lines on the coin's surface that can resemble lightning bolts, spider webs, or jagged lines cutting through Jefferson's portrait or the Monticello building on the reverse. And these die cracks occur when the dies wear out or are damaged during use, leading to coins that are technically still spendable but aesthetically unique and often visually striking, and such cracks can vary in prominence and placement, which makes them a particularly interesting subset for error collectors who prize unusual patterns and hard-to-find variations. And another error worth discussing is the so-called cut error, which is related to die breaks near the edge of the die that result in blobs of extra metal on the rim of the coin, obliterating parts of the design and giving the appearance that part of the coin has melted or is bulging unnaturally. And cuts can range in size and position, and when a 2012 nickel shows a prominent cut that interrupts text like "In God We Trust" or the rim of Monticello, it adds to the rarity and appeal of the coin, sometimes pushing values upward depending on collector demand and how dramatic the error appears. But even more intriguing is the presence of double die errors, which occur during the creation of the coin's dies when the hub used to imprint the design onto the die does so more than once in slightly different positions, leading to a doubling effect that can most commonly be observed on the coin's lettering or numerals. And although the 2012 nickel doesn't have a widely recognized or cataloged double die like the famous 1955 or 1972 Lincoln cents, isolated examples have been reported with subtle but visible doubling on inscriptions such as Liberty or 2012, and if authenticated by error coin grading services. These anomalies can significantly increase a coin's worth, especially when combined with other errors like off-center strikes or die clashes, which themselves occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions of one side of the design on the other side of the coin. And in the case of the 2012 nickel, such die clash errors have occasionally revealed outlines of Monticello appearing faintly behind Jefferson's head or vice versa, and this unique ghosting effect adds immense appeal to collectors, who are always in search of coins that show more than one anomaly, because multi-error coins are exponentially rarer than those with a single error. And speaking of rarity, Another factor that contributes to the higher than face value price of $344 for certain 2012P nickels is the presence of improper alloy mixes or planchet flaws, which can cause discoloration, unusual surfaces, or even weight anomalies, such as being struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, for instance a dime or a foreign coin, which happens very rarely but has been documented in various years across U.S. coinage. And if a 2012P nickel was accidentally struck on a copper-plated zinc-set planchet or a dime planchet, the resulting coin would be lighter, possibly thinner, and the design would be incomplete or squished, leading to instant collector interest and auction values that far exceed normal error coin prices. And similarly, clipped planchets, where a piece of the blank is missing before the coin is struck, are another class of errors found in 2012P nickels where the coin appears as though a small crescent moon has been bitten out of its edge, and depending on how the clip affects the coin's overall structure and legibility, the value can be modest or substantial, especially when the clip doesn't damage the date or mint mark, and the rest of the coin remains clean and attractive. And these errors, when present in combination, for example a clipped planchet combined with an off-center strike or a die crack, can elevate a coin's desirability dramatically. And while each individual error type has its own community of collectors and price trends, the convergence of multiple errors on a single coin, particularly from a relatively recent year like 2012, enhances its market performance, since newer coins with errors often surface less frequently due to tighter quality controls at modern mints, making them even more coveted when they do appear. And that's not all. The eye appeal or aesthetic uniqueness of an error can sometimes trump even the rarity when it comes to pricing. So if a 2012P nickel features a particularly bold strike-through error, where a piece of cloth, metal shaving, or other foreign object became lodged between the die and the planchet during striking and left a clear indentation or pattern behind, that coin could attract a lot of attention and fetch high prices simply because it looks dramatically different from standard nickels. And collectors love coins that tell a story visually, and those physical reminders of the minting mishap add character and intrigue. And let's not forget the influence of third-party grading services which can authenticate and assign error classifications as well as condition grades to the coin. Because a 2012P nickel with a mint error graded by PCGS or NGC as MS65 or higher with an attributed and verified error, such as off center strike 15% with visible date or retained CUD, can command significantly higher values at auctions or private sales than raw coins. And having the grading certification not only instills confidence in the buyer, but also documents the coin's error officially, giving it a pedigree and history that adds further to its mystique and long-term value potential. And another fascinating angle is how the population reports influence value. If a certain type of error is extremely rare for the 2012P issue, and only a handful are known in top condition, then the few examples in collector hands can see bidding wars at auctions, particularly if the coin fits into a registry set or helps a collector complete a niche category like Jefferson Nickels with major errors, or modern error nickels by year. And these highly specific collector pursuits have become more popular thanks to digital trading, online communities, and error coin forums that help identify and categorize new finds. Meaning a 2012P nickel that might have once gone unnoticed is now carefully examined and can quickly become the centerpiece of a new collection. Next, 2003 5-cent USA coin. Today we delve deep into another extraordinary and surprising coin that you may have come across in your change jar, piggy bank, pocket, or perhaps ignored entirely due to its seemingly common appearance. Yet behind its face value of just 5 cents lies a hidden world of numismatic secrets, production mishaps, and minting anomalies that have transformed a 2003P Jefferson nickel into a jaw-dropping collectible item worth as much as $650 to a knowledgeable collector or lucky finder. So buckle up as we journey into the world of mint errors, coin collecting quirks, and the fascinating mistakes that can skyrocket a coin's value far beyond its intended worth. And today's story focuses on the 2003 5-cent coin, also known as the 2003 Philadelphia Mint Jefferson Nickel, a piece that was mass-produced and circulated widely, but has since gained remarkable attention due to a series of production-related flaws, striking errors, and design defects that have elevated its status in the coin collecting community as one of those error coins that may look completely normal to the untrained eye but can fetch hundreds of dollars when the right error is discovered. And to fully grasp the significance of this coin and its potential value of $650 or even more, we need to start with its historical and minting background. As in 2003, the United States Mint was still using the long-standing design of President Thomas Jefferson's portrait on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse, a design in place since 1938, and it wouldn't be until 2004 that the westward journey nickels were introduced. So the 2003 represents the last of the original style before the redesigns began, making it somewhat of a transitional piece. And while most 2003 nickels are indeed common and hold only their face value, there are specific variations and error types within this year and mint mark that have dramatically increased their value in the eyes of collectors, particularly when those errors are dramatic, rare, and eye-catching. And among the most valuable errors associated with the 2003 Jefferson nickel is the off-center strike, where the coin is not correctly aligned during the striking process and ends up with part of the design missing or displaced, and if the off-center is severe enough, say, 40% or more, and the date and mint mark are still visible, such a piece could easily be worth hundreds, often ranging from $150 to $650, or even more depending on the extent of the off-centering and the coin's overall condition. And then there are broad strike errors, which happen when the collar die that holds the coin in place during striking fails to engage properly, allowing the metal to spread outwards and create a coin with a warped or enlarged appearance. And in the case of a 2003 broad strike Jefferson nickel, such a mistake can lead to unusual edge textures and a coin that is flatter or wider than normal. And collectors seek these out particularly when the design remains largely intact but clearly displays the error, and depending on how well preserved and dramatic this error is, such a coin might fetch well over $100, and in some premium cases might be auctioned for close to $500 or more, especially if paired with other anomalies such as weak strikes or die cracks. And another fascinating mint error observed on certain 2003 nickels involves the use of misaligned dies, where the obverse and reverse dies are not properly lined up, causing one side of the coin to be shifted slightly or significantly from the center, leading to lopsided images or even partial blank spaces. And while minor misalignments are fairly common and often not worth much, those that are extreme and visually obvious can drive prices up into the hundreds, especially if the coin remains in uncirculated or high mint state condition. And speaking of condition, it's critical to note that the value of any error coin, including the 2003 Jefferson nickel, is dramatically influenced by its preservation level. So coins graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC as MS65 or higher will naturally command a premium over lower grade specimens, and coins exhibiting full steps on the Monticello building on the reverse, indicating a sharp and complete strike, are also especially sought after. And in rare instances, 2003 nickels have been discovered with die cuts, which are raised blobs of metal on the coin surface caused by pieces breaking off the die, often forming on the rim or near the lettering, and these create very distinct and collectible patterns that can fetch several $100s depending on the location and size of the cut. And another rare but possible error is the clash die, where the dies strike each other without a planchet in place, leaving ghost-like impressions of one side's design on the other. And such clash marks can range from subtle to bold, and offer collectors a visual curiosity that greatly enhances the appeal and desirability of the piece, and although less common, some 2003p nickels have shown doubling effects, known as double dies, particularly around the inscriptions such as "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date itself. And while major double dies are heavily documented and attract significant attention, minor doubling might still result in values far above face value. And if verified as a true double die rather than machine doubling, such a coin could easily sell for several $100s, depending on demand and condition. And let's not forget about planchet errors, which involve mistakes in the metal blank used before the coin is struck, and in rare cases, 2003p nickels have been found struck on defective or foreign planchets, resulting in wrong weight or strange color and texture, and these off-metal strikes are among the most valuable errors, sometimes fetching thousands. Although even the less extreme planchet errors, like improper alloy mix or lamination peels, can lead to significant increases in value, and coin roll hunters and casual collectors alike have occasionally reported finding 2003p nickels with partial collar strikes, where only part of the collar die engaged, leaving a distorted or slanted rim which can create a very collectible look, and the visual intrigue of such pieces makes them highly desirable in the error collecting niche. And while discussing all these mechanical and metal-based errors, we shouldn't overlook human errors or quality control lapses such as the use of worn dies, which can cause the details of the coin to appear soft or mushy, especially in areas like Jefferson's hair, face, or Monticello's steps. And although not technically an error in all cases, coins with extreme die wear were signs of multiple die polishing events can form varieties that some collectors chase as a form of die state study, and for those deep into die variety attribution, finding multiple stages of die degradation within 2003p nickels offers a field of research and collecting that's both niche and rewarding, and every so often, the coin collecting world is surprised by a new discovery, like an unreported double die or misplaced mint mark, hidden in plain sight for years, which is why the 2003p nickel is a reminder to always check your change, as even something as ordinary as a nickel minted in Philadelphia in 2003 can hide anomalies that transform it into a small fortune. And although the mintage of 2003p nickels was in the hundreds of millions, the combination of transitional significance, potential for error, and the aging dies used toward the end of the design's lifespan make this coin a fertile hunting ground for rare variations and collectible oddities. And as auction results have shown, coins with verified errors and high-quality grading from reputable services regularly command impressive prices, with some selling for $650 or more depending on the nature and clarity of the error, making this 5-cent piece one of the surprise stars of recent numismatic finds. And what makes it even more thrilling is the idea that anyone, from seasoned collectors to those new to the hobby, might unknowingly possess one of these hidden treasures. And beyond the technical aspects, there's something romantic and endlessly fascinating about the idea that a simple, overlooked coin can become a gateway into history, manufacturing processes, and the stories embedded within small pieces of metal that travel across the country and through countless hands, each potentially holding something special. So whether you're a dedicated error coin hunter or just someone curious about the value of pocket change, the 2003p Jefferson nickel stands as a testament to how minting mistakes, mechanical missteps. Next, 1999p 5-cent USA coin. Today's video is about a seemingly ordinary yet surprisingly lucrative coin, the 1999p Jefferson 5-cent piece, which might not catch your eye at first glance, but due to some intriguing errors and varieties, has shocked collectors and enthusiasts alike by commanding values of up to $50 or even more in the right conditions. So if you're holding on to your old change or just curious about the potential treasure in a nickel, then stay tuned, because we're going to uncover everything you need to know about this specific coin exploring how a 5-cent coin minted in 1999 at the Philadelphia Mint could hold such significant value due to minting errors, mechanical mistakes, die anomalies, planchet imperfections, off-center strikes, and countless possibilities stemming from the coin production process that turned an everyday Jefferson nickel into a small fortune. And first, let's understand what sets the 1999 P5 cent apart from its countless other siblings that rolled off the mint. Presses in the billions, starting with the most obvious yet easily overlooked source of value, which are mint errors, where the coin's production deviated from intended standards in such a way that the resulting flaw wasn't caught before circulation, and collectors actively seek these flawed coins due to their uniqueness and rarity, with many paying a premium depending on the type, clarity, and rarity of the mistake. And in the case of the 1999 P nickel, one of the most sought-after errors is the off-center strike, where the coin was struck misaligned due to a poorly positioned planchet or loose collar, which leads to part of the design missing and a crescent-shaped blank portion visible on the coin's surface, and depending on the degree of this misalignment, with 10% to 30% off-center being the sweet spot for visibility, while still maintaining full date and mint mark, the value can skyrocket. And collectors love these, especially when the P mint mark and the full 1999 date are intact, preserving the coin's identity while highlighting the error. And then there are broad-stroke errors where the retaining collar meant to hold the coin in place fails, allowing the metal to expand outward and flatten in a distorted shape, often with wide rims and slightly warped appearance, making the coin look like a bloated version of itself and very eye-catching to collectors who appreciate these anomalies in coin geometry. And equally exciting are die clash errors, which occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, causing elements of one side to appear ghost-like on the opposite side in later strikes. And though rare, if this occurred in the 1999 P production run, those coins would bear both Thomas Jefferson's image and Monticello's silhouette mingled oddly on the same side, a spooky and valuable mistake that intrigues numismatists. And then there are double die errors, where the die itself is misaligned during the hubbing process, leading to doubling on inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date, 1999. And when these doubled dies are clear and visible without magnification, collectors will jump at the chance to own one, especially if it's a strong Class I or Class V doubling, and the value depends on the strength of the doubling, which can range from a few dollars to over $50 depending on demand and condition. And then we must explore repunched mint marks, where the P mint mark might have been punched more than once in slightly different locations due to the manual nature of the mint mark application process in earlier decades. And though by 1999 most mint marks were machine applied, there's always the chance of anomalies, especially if the punch was misaligned, leading to a shadow effect or slight doubling visible on the letter P. And then we consider the possibility of struck-through errors where foreign material, grease, fibers, wire, or other debris was present on the die or planchet at the time of striking, resulting in an impression that lacks detail in specific areas or features strange textures that set the coin apart from typical issues. And sometimes a piece of wire or string can leave a sharp indented line across the surface, and these errors can fetch a handsome price if the shape is peculiar or if it covers key elements like Jefferson's face or the Monticello building. And then there's the fascinating world of wrong planchet errors, where a Jefferson design may have accidentally been struck on a planchet meant for a dime, penny, or even a foreign coin, resulting in size, color, or weight deviations that are immediately noticeable and exceptionally rare. And these mistakes are often caught early, but if even a handful escaped, their value could explode in the numismatic market. And then there's the error of partial collar strikes or tilted dies, both of which distort the rim and edge of the coin in unique ways that can range from barely noticeable to dramatic. And collectors love coins that exhibit something clearly wrong but not damaging enough to prevent recognition of the design. And speaking of damage versus error, we must emphasize that true value comes from factory mint errors and not post-mint damage like scratches, corrosion, or tampering, which unfortunately disqualify coins from premium valuations. And another vital component to a coin's value is condition, where even error coins are subject to the grading scale, with those in mint state or uncirculated grades, MS60 to MS67 and above, being far more desirable than heavily circulated examples with worn-down features, and coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC tend to command the highest prices because of verified authentication, encapsulated protection, and grade certification which buyers trust. And some collectors also seek errors combined with full steps on Monticello, a grading criterion where the reverse design staircase shows 5 to 6 uninterrupted steps beneath the dome, a detail often lost to weak strikes but prized in full. And when an error coin from 1999 shows full steps, sharp luster, and dramatic anomalies, it becomes a target for top-tier collectors and registry set completions. And we must not overlook the historical context of the 1999 P5 cent, minted just before the turn of the millennium when coin production was still transitioning into modern techniques and automated systems, meaning quality control was improving but still susceptible to human error or machine hiccups. And considering the sheer volume of coins minted in 1999, any coin that deviates from the norm becomes a statistical outlier and thus highly collectible. And when it comes to rarity, it's not just about how many errors were made but how many have been found, documented, and verified. And this is where luck plays a huge role, because your pocket change might contain an error that even seasoned collectors haven't discovered yet. And the fun lies in identifying, researching, and confirming the authenticity of the find. And online marketplaces like eBay or auction houses like Heritage Auctions have played key roles in bringing attention to these undervalued coins, with documented sales showing that coins, like the 1999 P nickel, when combined with clear errors and decent condition, have crossed the $50 mark multiple times. And listings with detailed photos, verified grades, and sharp errors draw bidding wars as error coin enthusiasts look to fill gaps in their specialized collections. And let's not forget the niche communities online, from coin forums to Reddit groups, where amateur and professional collectors discuss new finds, debate rarity, and help identify mysterious anomalies on coins. And these communities are constantly buzzing about overlooked dates like the 1999 P nickel. And this widespread grassroots interest helps keep demand alive and value steady or increasing. And the deeper you explore into the error coin world, the more you realize how each mint year holds secrets waiting to be discovered. And the 1999 P nickel's seemingly mundane appearance hides within it a universe of possibility. Whether it's a dramatic off-center strike, a subtle double die, a bizarre struck-through impression, or an unexpected planchet mix-up. And each error has its own story that makes the coin not just a monetary object, but a physical document of the minting process gone awry. And as collectors know, those stories are what turn small change into big value. And ultimately what makes this coin worth up to $50 or more is the combination of error type, visibility, rarity, condition, and collector demand. Last 2003 P5 cent USA coin. Today, we're about to explore the fascinating story behind the 2003 P Jefferson 5-cent coin that shocked collectors and appraisers alike by reaching an astounding value of $650 due to its remarkable errors and minting mistakes. And trust me, this isn't your ordinary nickel. It's a piece of numismatic mystery that combines a swirl of production anomalies, rare circumstances, and historical context that together make this coin one of the most intriguing modern-day rarities. So buckle in as we take you on an in-depth journey into the world of coin errors and the extraordinary value they can bring when the right coin meets the right collector. Because when it comes to the 2003 P5 cent piece, we're not just talking about spare change anymore. We're talking about a highly collectible, widely misunderstood, and surprisingly valuable error coin that many people may not even realize they have sitting in their homes right now. And it all begins with the Jefferson nickel design, a long-standing classic in American coinage that has seen its fair share of variations and transitions over the decades. But the 2003 issue stands out in a peculiar way due to specific mishaps during the minting process at the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by the P mint mark, which in this particular year produced a significant number of coins with subtle to severe errors that went unnoticed by the general public but caught the sharp eyes of seasoned collectors and error coin specialists, starting with one of the most prominent and valuable varieties, off-center strikes, where the image on the coin is not aligned correctly due to the blank planchet not being seated properly within the coin press, resulting in a coin that may have Jefferson's portrait shifted drastically toward one edge with part of the design missing entirely, and depending on how far off-center the strike is, such errors can range in value. But examples with a 40% or more off-center misalignment without compromising the date and mint mark have fetched hundreds of dollars at auction, especially when the coin retains strong luster and minimal wear. And then there are the dramatic die cracks and die breaks that plague some 2003 P nickels due to overused or improperly maintained dies, leading to raised, jagged lines or even retained cut breaks on the surface of the coin, particularly near the rim or across Jefferson's face. And such dramatic die cracks create a kind of lightning bolt effect on the coin, which is both visually striking and highly desirable among collectors who seek out unusual die states that are seldom repeated exactly, and some 2003 P nickels even show clash marks, which occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, transferring part of the reverse design onto the obverse die or vice versa, which can then appear as ghostly impressions in areas where they're not supposed to be, giving the coin a surreal look that elevates its collectability significantly. And these die clash errors are especially interesting when they appear in combination with other errors like die polishing lines or planchet laminations, the latter being another error that results from flaws in the metal blank itself where part of the surface of the coin begins to peel away or bubble. And while minor laminations are common in low-quality base metal coins, the more severe and visually dramatic the lamination, the more value it commands, especially if it affects major elements of the coin's design such as the date, mint mark, or Jefferson's face. And in addition to these visible striking errors, there are also double dies, where the coin design appears double due to a misalignment during the hubbing process that forms the coin die. And while double dies are often subtle and require magnification to confirm, certain 2003 P nickels have been reported with clear doubling in the date, mint mark, and the word Liberty, which makes them extremely appealing to collectors of varieties and errors. And the key to their value lies in the clarity and prominence of the doubling, because not all doubled dies are created equal, and only the strongest and most dramatic examples bring in the highest prices. And beyond that, we also have planchet errors like clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is literally missing due to a misfeed during the blanking process at the mint, creating a crescent-like bite taken out of the coin. And if the clipped planchet is large enough and retains a visible date and mint mark, it can raise the coin's value substantially, especially when found in uncirculated or high-grade condition. And speaking of condition, the overall grade of the coin plays a massive role in its market value, as coins that have been preserved in pristine, uncirculated state, graded MS65 or higher by a reputable third-party grading service, tend to draw competitive bids from collectors, especially when combined with one or more of the rare errors previously mentioned. And even coins with minor errors that might not be worth much on their own can become quite valuable when they are part of a high-grade example, because collectors place a premium on rarity plus quality. And in the case of the 2003 P nickel, there are also rumors and confirmed examples of what's known as a rotated die error, where the obverse and reverse sides of the coin are misaligned in such a way that when you flip the coin top to bottom, the back image doesn't appear correctly aligned. And this type of error is subtle but rare and has drawn increased attention in recent years, particularly for newer coins where such mistakes are less expected due to modern quality control. And then we must also consider the human factor. Errors introduced due to accidental human oversight during the minting process, such as misaligned dies or improperly installed collars, which can result in broad-struck coins that lack the reading or edge definition expected in a normal strike, and these broad-struck coins are often wider and flatter than standard nickels and can be highly collectible, particularly when the error is dramatic and easy to identify without magnification. And then we have more elusive error types like the transitional error, though not yet widely reported for the 2003 P nickel. Collectors always remain on the lookout for coins struck using leftover dies or planchets from previous years, or those struck on foreign coin planchets, which has happened in other years and denominations and remains a possibility whenever mints are processing large volumes of coinage under pressure, especially when combined with the possibility of a mule error, where dies from two different denominations or years are accidentally paired, creating a coin with mismatched sides. And while no official mule errors are yet known for the 2003 P nickel, the mere potential for such a rare hybrid adds to the interest in closely examining every 2003 P nickel that crosses your path. And when you add all these possibilities together, off-center strikes, die cracks, die clashes, double dies, laminations, clipped planchets, rotated dies, broad strikes, and potential mules, you begin to understand how the 2003 P Jefferson 5-cent coin could go from being just another piece of change to a $650 treasure. And in some cases even more if the coin possesses multiple errors or is preserved in a flawless state. And with collectors today becoming increasingly sophisticated and detail-oriented, even minor variations are getting scrutinized under microscopes and loupes. And what might have once been overlooked is now the subject of bidding wars on online auction sites and specialty coin platforms, where buyers are willing to pay top dollar to add a standout error coin to their growing collections, especially from a modern year like 2003, where error coins are generally expected to be less frequent due to advances in minting technology and quality control, which paradoxically makes any error that does occur during this period even more desirable because it defies expectations. And let's not forget that the numismatic market is influenced by trends and educational awareness. Videos like this one, forum discussions, social media posts, and auction house highlights all contribute to the growing knowledge and appreciation for these rare coins. And with that increased awareness comes increased demand, which further pushes up the value of standout examples like the 2003 P nickel with dramatic or multiple errors. So if you've got a stash of nickels at home or some old change you haven't looked through in years, now might be the perfect time to dig them out and give them a closer look under good lighting or with a magnifier.